What's good, everybody? Appreciate you checking in. So I think we can all agree our boy Mark Davis, as soon as the season ended, he kind of hit the ground running, right? He brought in 7 different GMs, interviewed them pretty quickly. But in the last few days, he's kind of gone dark. I want to recap kind of where we stand right now, and I want to get you guys' feedback. What do we think the next move is going to be by Mark Davis, based on some of the events that has led up to him going dark the last 3 days or so. So before I jump into it, Christina Gill, Billy J, I appreciate you guys. You guys were the winners of my previous giveaway. You guys emailed me. I got your giveaways to you. You received them. I appreciate you. Larry Fleming, I haven't heard from you, man. If you are viewing, please email me at realraider805@gmail.com. All the information is on the ticker down below. Email me so I can get you your giveaway. If you guys can, please like and subscribe, turn on those notifications. I'll be doing my next giveaway at 2,500 subscribers. I appreciate all my subscribers. I appreciate the support you guys have given me. Help me get to 2,500 so you're included in my next giveaway, because all my subscribers will be included in my next giveaway at 2,500. So let's kind of get into this. Mark Davis, he brought in 7 different GMs. I think out of the 7, 3 of them really stood a true chance. Obviously, there's Champ Kelly, our interim GM. And then you had Ed Dodds, which was tied to Jim Harbaugh. We'll get into that in a second. And then you had Adam Peters. I do think those were the 3 names that were kind of on the top end of the list. Now, Adam Peters is with Washington, so he's off the board. And I really like the direction Mark Davis was going, right? He was interviewing GMs. I want us to be a GM-run organization. I want the GM to oversee everything, hold everybody accountable, especially the head coach, to make sure everything is running properly. That's what I wanted to see, and it looked like that was the direction Mark Davis was going. Now, in the comments down below, let me know who you want as our next GM. Do you want Champ Kelly? Most likely, if it's him, we match him up with AP. Do you want Ed Dodds? Let me know in the comments down below, who do you want as the next Raiders GM? Now, what we saw just early in the week is that Mark Davis actually brought in 2 additional head coaches to interview, in addition to Antonio Pierce. So Leslie Frazier, he came in. I really don't think he's going to have the job. He hasn't head coached in a while. His previous position was, I think, 4 years ago with the Buffalo Bills. And then there was Chris Richard, ex-Raider. He was the assistant defensive coordinator with the Saints 2 years ago. He didn't, or last year. He did not coach this year. I don't think Chris Richard really is a true candidate. I think what Mark Davis did was he complied with the Rooney Rule. And so since he did, now Mark Davis can hire on a head coach. He can officially hire on a head coach whenever he feels like it. And so that's kind of where we stand right now. Now, what's interesting is Champ Kelly, it's been reported that Champ Kelly has actually been inside the interviews. He's been in the room with the interviews of all the head coaches, both Leslie Frazier, Chris Richard, and Antonio Pierce. So he's attended all 3, which is very interesting. Does that mean that Mark Davis knows Champ Kelly is getting the GM position? Let me know in the comments down below. And one interesting thing is there was so much hype and so many ties to Jim Harbaugh. But Mark Davis has not reached out to Jim Harbaugh and requested an interview. We haven't seen it just yet. Again, we haven't heard much from Mark Davis in the last 3 days, and not a single request has gone out to Jim Harbaugh from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Jim Harbaugh has interviewed with the Chargers. He's interviewed with the Falcons. So maybe that's washing up. Also, Jim Harbaugh, it's been reported that Jim Harbaugh is going back to Michigan to open up the negotiation talks. So I dropped in one of my previous videos that there was a good chance that Jim Harbaugh might be using the NFL as a negotiation tactic to go back to Michigan and maybe squeeze a little bit more money. I think Michigan is a great fit for him. I think he fits extremely well. He just won a national championship, so why leave? So there's a good chance that Jim Harbaugh might be using the NFL as a negotiation tactic. And since we haven't reached out to him, I'm not sure if Jim Harbaugh is even in the running for the Las Vegas Raiders. So now let's dive in and kind of talk about what's the holdup, right? We haven't heard from Mark Davis in the last 3 days, last 72 hours. Now, I am not one, and I'm seeing everybody in social media kind of panic. Like, Mark Davis, make a decision. Mark Davis, you better get it done. Hire AP. You know, I'm hearing a lot of people getting a little nervous, and I am just a little bit, and I'm going to get into that kind of towards the end. But what I think is what I'd like Mark Davis to do is do his due diligence. I want him to do a thorough interview with everybody he wants. Do a thorough interview with the GMs. Maybe he's going to bring in Ed Dodds again for a second round. Maybe he wants to do an additional interview with Champ Kelly. I don't know. But I want him to do his due diligence. I want him to make sure he gets it right this time. Now, in addition to him taking his time, there's been another name that just dropped. And that's coming from Albert Breer, an NFL insider, and Mike Florio, which is part of, I believe he's part of CBS. He's got his own podcast. They're basically tying Mike Vrabel to a potential head coaching candidate for the Raiders. Now, Mark Davis has not reached out for an interview, but if you kind of connect the dots, you got Tom Brady, that has been reported by Hondo Carpenter, that Tom Brady does have conversations with Mark Davis about very important decisions that surround the Raiders. And so we all know Tom Brady has a very good respect for Mike Vrabel, played with Mike Vrabel from, I believe it was 2001 to 2008 when he was with the Patriots. And then you got Richard Seymour. Richard Seymour is in the room. He's part of the committee that is interviewing head coaches and GMs. Richard Seymour also played with Mike Vrabel between 2001 and 2008, I believe. And so he's another head that has a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel. Are they talking to Mark Davis? Should we bring him in? Should we at least interview him? Probably. It would probably be smart by Mark Davis to bring in Mike Vrabel just to interview him, just to hear him. Not saying I want him to go with Mike Vrabel, but that might be brewing behind the scenes. Let me know down below what you think of Mike Vrabel. Do you think we should bring him in for an interview, or do you want him as the next Raiders head coach? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, lastly, what are we risking by waiting a little bit? We've already seen one coach. Exit the building. That was Carmen Brasillo, our offensive line coach. He exited the building. He now took the O-line coaching position over with the Giants. Now, rumors did just come out that he wasn't necessarily a favorite in the locker room. So, who knows? But none of our other position coaches have gone out for interviews, which is a good sign so far. But you do risk that the longer you wait, coaches might start to seek other opportunities if they're unsure that they are a lock for next season. So you do run that risk. Now, we've also run the risk of Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham has now interviewed with the Chargers. He's now interviewed with the Seahawks. If Patrick Graham doesn't feel like everything's a lock here in Las Vegas, we might lose him. You never know. He might get a dollar amount thrown at him that will look very attractive. Might happen. Not saying it will, but it could happen. You run that risk. And lastly, let me know what your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury, right? The ex-Arizona head coach, the offensive coordinator from Texas Tech. He obviously ran the offense over at Arizona. Last year, he was kind of a consultant to the offense with USC, got a lot of ties to Caleb Williams. So let me know your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury. The one thing that we do risk is if Mark Davis or Antonio Pierce or whoever the next head coach might be wants to consider Cliff Kingsbury as the next offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders, you might want to start making the decision very quickly because Cliff Kingsbury just interviewed with the Chicago Bears. And the Chicago Bears, they're keeping their head coach. He's getting his coaching staff in line. He's bringing in, which is probably prepping for Caleb Williams, possibly, but they just brought in Cliff Kingsbury for an interview. So if you want to potentially lock him up, you better get a head coach in place so he can start piecing his coaching staff together. And we all know one of the things that we need is an offensive coordinator. And so let me know your thoughts, guys, down below. What are your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury? Do you want him to come in as our offensive coordinator? I will give you my quick feedback on him. I do think he's a good offensive play caller. I think the one thing we need, we obviously have a great defense. If we can keep everything intact, we have a really good defense. If we keep that ball rolling, all we need is somebody that has play calling experience that can coach up a quarterback. And Cliff Kingsbury, based on his history, can do that. He may not be the greatest, but if AP is the head coach, I don't think AP is going to have just the pick of the litter of offensive coordinators. He's going to have, he only has 2 years of coaching experience in the NFL. He's going to have to bring in somebody probably from the college ranks or maybe a passing coordinator from another NFL team. So it may not be necessarily a proven guy. But if you can get somebody like Cliff Kingsbury in the building as your offensive coordinator and pair him up with Antonio Pierce in this defense, I think we can make some waves. I think we can shock some people next year. So I would like the move. That means we have to move fairly quickly on getting a head coach in place so we can start getting this entire coaching staff together. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Just want to jump on here, do a recap of where we stand right now and kind of my thoughts. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think the holdup is? What do you think Mark Davis's next move might be? And let me know in the comments down below, do you want AP as our next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders? All right, guys, I appreciate you sticking with me. Again, if you could, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out.